The basketball world woke up this morning, and the report was that Damian Lillard might request a trade. And there's some other rumors going on, but that's the main one we're going to focus on today. Welcome to Rumors with Reek. That's what we're going to call this for now. Rumors with Reek. Welcome to the channel if you're new. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe if you are new. It's a place where we talk all about NBA basketball. So if you love hoops, this is the place for you. And with the NBA finals winding down, we're down to potentially 3 more games, and the season will be over after that. One of the most enjoyable times of the calendar year is here, and that's the off season. Player movement, we love seeing that. We love seeing the NBA draft, new young players coming in, new faces in the league, and old faces in new places as well. And the free agent class is not as big as potentially next offseason or even like this prior offseason or offseason before that. It's not really that big this offseason, but there could be some potential star players that might request trades, and the most notable name is Damian Lillard. And I've made a video about Damian Lillard, potential trade destinations. I've been over the teams that have enough or, would be a very compelling, place for him to go that would maybe elevate them into being a contending team. I mentioned places like the Philadelphia 76ers, the New York Knicks, the Boston Celtics, Denver's a wild card. There's been recent reports. I don't know the truth behind them, the validity behind them, but I think the Golden State Warriors are supposed to be extremely interested in trying to trade for Damian Lillard. He's been connected to pretty much any team that thinks they're one piece away or a piece or two away, and Dame is just that type of superstar talent. He's been getting it out of the mud in Portland, for the past, he's been there 9 years, I think. 9 or 10 seasons in Portland. He's been getting out the mud there, and they've tried. They've tried their best to put together, contending quality teams. Like, they made it to the conference finals one year, which surprised pretty much everybody. But then they've had years where they've got swept in the first round by the New Orleans Pelicans. They've had several years where they've lost in the first round. They've lost in the first round the last 2 seasons. I think they've underachieved the last 2 seasons by their standards. And really it's been like, if Dame isn't, deep in his bag, with the Superman cape on, this team's not very good. And, I think for the better, if Dame really wants to win, which I think us as all basketball fans know, this man, he's a winning player. He wants to win a championship. And he's also one of the most loyal players. But sometimes you got to put that pride to the side, and you got to be real with yourself and, like, can I win here? And I think Dame is to the point where, he's 31 years old. His birthday was yesterday, so happy birthday, Dame. And he's at the point where, like, this is his peak, and he should be in a winning situation. I just don't think the Blazers have done the job to put a winning team around him. They've tried their best to do what they can do. I mean, Portland is not a free agent destination. You're not going to get big names. Like Carmelo Anthony did not want to go there after the Knicks parted ways with him, after OKC parted ways with him. Melo did not want to go there. So it's like, he finally did end up there, but he didn't want to initially go there because Portland is just not that type of destination. I mean, they've done a good job. They drafted Damian Lillard. They drafted CJ McCollum. But I mean, other than that, like, they just haven't been able to get another, like, all-star caliber name. And I think they maximized the potential with this group. Making that conference finals run I think that is the cap on this team, which is, there's only one champion every year. And over the past decade, it's either been like LeBron, the Golden State Warriors, or, we had the Spurs, or 2 Kawhi years. And then, this season we got some fresh faces. Like, that's pretty much the gist of what the NBA has been. So, I mean, making the conference finals is big time, especially when they weren't expected to. But let's get to, like, it's just time for Dame to move on from Portland, because they don't have really any trade pieces that I think can elevate this team, unless, like, you could maybe finesse somebody in the CJ McCollum trade. But CJ is really the only trade asset that this team truly has, in my opinion. I don't really think that this team has much value outside of CJ McCollum. They do have some young players like Ant Simons, who has showed like he can be a quality, I think, rotational player. We don't know what Nasir Little could be. He was one of the top players coming out of high school, went to UNC, kind of had an underwhelming freshman year, and then was a late first-round pick. Hasn't really shown much or really given the opportunity. They traded away Gary Trent, who was their best young talent, and they got back Norman Powell, who is a very, very good scoring guard in this league, but he's another small guard to add to this rotation of small guards, and he's a free agent this offseason. I think he's making like 12 or 13 million. He's gonna probably get more than that in the open market. So it's like you traded away Gary Trent for potentially losing Norman Powell. So the Trailblazers, they've tried to make moves, but I don't think they made the right moves. I think they did a fine job last offseason on paper, but it just didn't pan out. The Robert Covington move really didn't work out. Derrick Jones Jr. fell out of the rotation. Yeah, they tried, but I just think Dame has to put himself in a position to where he can compete for a championship. And, you know, I seen reports that the Knicks would be top on his list, which I mentioned the Knicks in my prior video when talking about Damian Lillard being traded if he were to request a trade. And I think the Knicks is a very good fit. They got cap space to bring in some more talent in the offseason. If you add Dame with Julius Randle, Randle going to be a second option, I think will benefit him very well, because watching him in the postseason, all the attention was on Julius Randle. And when that happened and the floor shrunk and you don't have shooters, it really made it tough for Julius Randle to be the all-star, all-NBA player that he was. So I think, of course, adding Dame is going to help him, you know, just open his game up even more. He won't be relied upon so heavily to make so many plays like he did. You could still have the potential to bring back Derrick Rose. Derrick Rose thrives in that six-man role, and you know, not too much will be expected of Derrick Rose. You know, he doesn't have to play, 35 minutes in the playoffs when he's not accustomed to playing 35 minutes a game. So I think a Dame move would be very good. Now, what can you give up? You got young talent. Look, I see Knicks fans saying RJ Barrett should be untouchable. Hell no. RJ Barrett, excuse my language, but RJ Barrett's not untouchable, bro. He's not untouchable. There's only a few untouchable players in this league that are young players. Luka Doncic, Trae Young. You can argue Zion Williamson. Very few players. And there's some guys that would be very hard to trade for, obviously. But RJ Barrett's not untouchable, bro. He's not untouchable. He hasn't shown me that he is going to be like an all-NBA player in this league or a superstar. He hasn't shown that. He's shown that he can be a very good scorer. He shot 40% from deep last season, but in the playoffs, that 40% didn't show up. So it's like, I don't think he's untouchable. I would give him up in a Damian Lillard trade in a heartbeat. I really like Obi Toppin. I would love to talk to Obi Toppin, like in an interview or something, but I think he's expendable too. And if you got to give up Emmanuel quickly as well, and 19 and 21 in this year's draft, look, you can put together a nice trade package. Either RJ, Obi / quickly, and 2 picks. I think that is a very good trade package to get Damian Lillard to Madison Square Garden. He gets to go to a big market that's on the rise. He gets to play for a really good head coach that I think can help get the most out of his talent. And he'll just elevate this Knicks team that's shown, we can be a playoff team. We're a very competitive, defensive, gritty team, which is something that I think Damian Lillard needs around him, some guys that are hard-nosed defenders. And now they have their superstar player, a player that they can go to late in games. We know Dame is one of the best, if not the best closer in the league. So I think the Knicks, if that is at the top of his list, I would love to see it. I think that would be a perfect spot. And the moves that they can make in free agency, they can bring in guys that just, fit in the holes in this team. They can bring in some nice 3-and-D players depending on who's on the market. I really like the potential of a Dame trade to New York. Now, of course, there's other spots. Like, I want to address the Golden State one because I think this could be fun. It looks weird on paper, but it could be fun. What would the Warriors have to give up? It would probably have to be centered around James Wiseman. Probably Jordan Poole, who's shown, I think he's going to be a really good NBA player. I think Jordan Poole is going to be a very good NBA player, man. I mean, he already is really good, but I think he can, push himself to be even better. And I like the potential that he can have. I think those will be probably the 2 young pieces that will be involved in this trade. They have 2 lottery picks. I believe 7 and 14 are the Warriors' 2 lottery picks this season. And then you would probably have to throw in a contract filler like Andrew Wiggins. Or potentially, Kelly Oubre. I think Wiggins. I think Wiggins makes the most. Yeah, Wiggins makes the most out of those 2 players. And you got to match up the salaries because Wiseman isn't making a lot of money. Jordan Poole's not making a lot of money. Now that's 2 small guards again, Steph Curry and Dame. Neither one are really quality defenders. But, Klay Thompson coming back, speaking that into existence. Klay Thompson will be back. You still have Draymond, who is still a good defender. And then the Warriors have shown time and time again, we just throw anybody at the 5. Kevon Looney's still there. As long as he can stay healthy, we'll just throw him at the 5. So I don't realistically, I don't think that's going to happen. But it would be, I will watch it. It would be entertaining. I would definitely watch it. Like, no doubt about that. I would definitely watch it. But I think there's so many teams that can offer better trade packages though than that. Even though that's a good, if you're trying to start a rebuild, that's a very good young team that you can maybe bring back to Portland to sell fans like, okay, we're cleaning house, but we're bringing back some young talent. And that's not even talking about what you might get from CJ. Might be able to get a young player, some picks, or maybe like a first-round pick or something like that. And then, trade Robert Covington could probably get you a first-round pick from a contending team. Like a team like the LA Lakers would probably love a Robert Covington. A team, Yusuf Nurkic might, be able to get you back some kind of value too, if you're trying to hit the rebuild. So, there's a lot that Portland has at their disposal. If you're going to go into the rebuild, I would think now is the best time to do it. And you start by, getting the best value for Damian Lillard possible. That's what you got to do if you're the Trailblazers. I talked about Denver in my last video. Denver is in a very, win-win type of situation. Like, Jamal Murray will probably be back sometime this season. If I were to guess, it would probably be, February-ish, maybe around the All-Star break. But he'll probably be back. But, if you're Denver, if you want to take a Damian Lillard flyer, you have pieces to throw. You can throw either Michael Porter Jr. or Jamal Murray. Throw in, Bobo and some picks. You got value. That's all I'm saying. Teams have a lot of value. I mentioned the Boston Celtics. I got the Jaylen Brown shirt on right now as we speak. If y'all don't believe me, I got the Jaylen Brown shirt on. I would trade Jaylen Brown and a couple more things for Damian Lillard. I definitely would, and I think that would be a good package. That you get an all-star player in return who's still relatively young. I think Jaylen Brown's only 24 years old, and you can get some picks. You can get maybe take a shot on Romeo Langford or Aaron Nesmith, or if you can get Robert Williams or Moses Brown, take a shot on one of those young guys. Maybe Peyton Pritchard. Get another guard back in return. I would, if I was the Boston Celtics, I would definitely call up the phone, see what exactly they're asking for, and then the one that Dame's been linked to the most, where I think makes the most sense, but I'm kind of sold on the Knicks too, but I think this makes a lot of sense as well. The 76ers. I think Philly makes a lot of sense. And it would be centered around the Ben Simmons trade, who we're gonna get into Ben Simmons too. This is the rumors with Rick. We're gonna get into Ben Simmons talk, but I think that would be I think that makes him a championship team. Now if you're Philly, don't be stingy. If they want Tyrese Maxey and some picks too, throw Tyrese Maxey's not untouchable. And I think if you're Philly, if you can, as long as you keep Matisse Thybulle, he's not. I think Ben Simmons is a more versatile defender, but I think Matisse still brings a lot of defensive versatility. 1 through 3, potentially at the 4, depending on the matchups and stuff. So I think you still have defensive value on that team. You get the go-to guy that you need, that this team has desperately been missing. Tobias Harris's role will be even more we won't be looking at you to be our best perimeter scorer. You just have to be good. You just have to be, 20 points per game. We're not expecting you to elevate from 22 points per game to 28 in the postseason. We just want you to be what you are, and that's, a solid 20-point scorer. And then Embiid, just imagine late game situations, dribble handoffs, pick and rolls with Dame and Embiid. That sounds pretty good if I was a Philadelphia 76ers fan. So I think that makes the most sense. And in order for that, I would think Ben Simmons would have to be a part of that trade. And let's get into the Ben Simmons talk, because I think this is last week, kind of late, but they officially made Ben Simmons up. They're basically saying we're taking Ben Simmons calls now. They made it official. We're taking Ben Simmons calls. And the Minnesota Timberwolves are very interested, for sure. And I don't know if I've talked about this in depth, but I think that makes good sense for both sides too, depending on what the deal is. But I think it would have to be centered around D'Angelo Russell. I think that makes the most sense for the 76ers because, of course you could take Anthony Edwards, but You don't have now. You're kind of lacking the ball handling unless you're ready to throw Tyrese Maxey into that lead guard role, or unless you can maybe somehow get Kyle Lowry in free agency. There's not really. There's some options, but I would think it would center around D'Angelo Russell, maybe a Malik Beasley thrown in there too. I think there's the pieces to make it happen. I've seen a lot of people talking about Golden State. I don't know why. I think Golden State's just thrown into every all-star caliber player into the trade machine. Like, that's just how it is now. I guess they're the new Lakers. And realize how I didn't mention any Lakers talk about Dame because that's not happening. Trust and believe that's not happening. But I don't get it. I don't get the Golden State Ben Simmons move because I would say you're probably keeping Draymond. And if you do, that spacing is disgusting. That's nasty. But then you do have Klay Thompson and Steph Curry, but it's still like you have two guys that you're not worried about shooting the ball on the perimeter. Sounds nasty to me. I don't like that at all. And also, like, what would Philly want in return that makes – because they're still trying to contend. What would they want in return that they're saying, okay, we're still a championship caliber team? I don't see it. Wiggins, Oubre, Jordan Poole, Wiseman. I don't see any of those being enticing to Philly. So I don't get that. Of course, we mentioned Portland, get Dame back. The one I really like that's low-key, which I saw something that said that they already rejected an offer, but it's Indiana. I think Indiana could put together a decent trade package to get Ben Simmons. But then you have to think, Ben Simmons' value probably maybe isn't as high, but at the same time, teams are still saying, like, we still think, he's a all-star caliber talent. So maybe you could get a Malcolm Brogdon and a TJ Warren if you're willing to throw in maybe Ben Simmons and Tyrese Maxey. Maybe you could still get somebody like that, a trade package like that from Indiana. Who knows? I do think Ben Simmons will probably be on the move. It's just a matter of to where, to when. Hopefully he really is working on his shot and, his skills and stuff, because he said he's not playing for Australia in the Olympics because of that reason. He's trying to work on his game, which I would hope so. And it's just like, I made a TikTok, and it was a video of Ben Simmons, like, when he was a couple years ago, he was shooting, and he just looks, it was, open gym shooting, pretty much by himself. And, but his form looked good. He was shooting with confidence and stuff. And then it just reminded me of how Markelle Fultz went to Philly. He had the shoulder thing, and then all of a sudden he forgot how to shoot. But now Fultz is in Orlando. His jumper looks fine. I'm just wondering, like, what are they teaching y'all in Philly? Like, what are they telling y'all in Philly that's making y'all lose complete confidence in shooting the ball? I don't know, man. If me as an NBA fan, I've been watching basketball for about 12 years now. If I can watch Brook Lopez go from somebody that did not shoot outside of maybe 15 feet to somebody that is now a stretch five, he really only shoots 3-point shots for the most part. I don't want to see any excuses for, like, Ben Simmons or, like, anybody, bro. Like, y'all should be able to, if Brook Lopez can do it, anything's possible, bro. Because he was back to the basket. Now he's shooting threes at a pretty decent rate. Like, I don't know, man. Y'all need to hit up Lethal Shooter because he got Bobby Portis right. He gets, he got KCP shooting like high 30s. Maybe, I think he might have hit 40 one year. He got guys shooting the ball really well. So, NBA players that are struggling with your shots, man, y'all need to hit up the right trainers because some guys aren't getting the job done for y'all. But there was some other news I wanted to tap into. Of course, more news is probably going to be dropping, once the season's officially over. But one I found kind of intriguing. John Collins, he raised his value on the market big time in the postseason. He's shown that he can play defense pretty well. And I think a lot of teams could use somebody like John Collins. And the report was, Dallas is interested in him, which I think would be maybe an upgraded fit over Porzingis, potentially. The Miami Heat, the Spurs, Minnesota are like the teams expected to show the most interest. And if I'm the Atlanta Hawks, how much do I throw at John Collins, like money-wise? How much do I put in front of him to say, you know what, we want to keep you here? So that's something to definitely keep an eye on. For sure. Because he was a big piece of that Atlanta Hawk run to the conference finals. They were 2 games away from the finals. Trae Young goes down. Who knows what could have happened? So, that's something to keep an eye on. But I think he went from somebody earlier this season that's like, there's no way you're worth, 4 years, $80 million, which I think is what he got offered. So now it's like, you might be able to get a little more than $20 million per year. That's how well he played in the playoffs when it mattered the most. And then the last one, I seen this earlier this week. Colin Sexton is pretty much the odd man out in Cleveland, is what it looks like. 25 point per game scorer, pretty efficient too. Pretty efficient scorer. He puts up a lot of shots, but pretty efficient scorer. They got the small backcourt. They're like, okay, this probably isn't going to work long term. But I think they did the smart thing. They drafted the best players available when they picked. They got the number 3 overall pick, so I think it really depends on what the first 2 picks in the draft go. If it goes Cunningham and Mobley, which is probably what I would say it should go. Jalen Green is the next best player, and that's who they should take. He's a shooting guard. Colin Sexton's pretty much a shooting guard. Jalen Green is 6'5", 6'6". Colin Sexton's like 6'1", 6'2". So I think it makes the most sense that Colin Sexton probably is on the move. But they know that they don't really have a lot of leverage. They don't have a lot of leverage with this, with Colin Sexton, because everybody knows that the Cavs do not want to pay Colin Sexton. Because he's put up the numbers to where he should get paid. He should get a bag. But it's like, man, do we want to be paying Colin Sexton close to max money? And they don't. But they really like Darius Garland. He took a big step in year 2. I like Darius Garland too, and I also think it's very difficult to win with a small backcourt. To even just be a good team, it's difficult. You got to really put the right pieces. You got to have, and those 2 guys in the backcourt have to be as lethal as they come. And I think it makes the most sense to trade him. I seen the Knicks were linked to Colin Sexton. Depending on if they strike out on Dame, I wouldn't mind a Colin Sexton in New York, depending on what you give up. Got some picks this season. We already talked about that in this draft, 19 and 21. Maybe they'll take a flyer on Kevin Knox, Frankie Smokes. Maybe they'll take a flyer on some of those guys. And you don't have to give up too much to get Colin Sexton because, the Cavs don't have much leverage at all. And I see Cavs fans. I know a few Cavs fans, and they're like, man, why would we trade Colin Sexton? They like their young backcourt. I'm gonna just tell y'all this. It will probably benefit y'all team so much if y'all trade Colin Sexton. Get what you can in return. If that's the package you get from the Knicks, you get those 2 first-round picks. That's good. This is the draft that I think is gonna be a lot of value in the 20s. Late first round. I think there's gonna be a lot of value there. I'm talking for a long time, but yeah, there can be a lot of value there for the Cavs, and I think Go ahead, take a flyer on a Kevin. Maybe Kevin Knox just needs to get out of New York because he's not getting any playing time. Maybe Frank Ntilikina needs to get out of New York because he's getting like 9 minutes a game. So maybe you guys can be the ones to unlock that lottery talent that the Knicks saw in those guys. Potentially, you never know, but if you don't want to pay Colin Sexton, you gotta trade him. So might as well get some young players and some picks in return because you're still a rebuilding team, and I don't think a young core of, you gotta pay Jarrett Allen, of course, but Garland, you got Jalen Green potentially, you got Isaac Okoro who had a pretty good rookie year. We mentioned you gotta pay Jarrett Allen, and then you got some young guys that you could potentially draft in the late first round, give them playing time early on. I mean, Kevin Love will be the 4 right now, but trade Kevin Love's self too, trade him as well. It's not that simple, but that's what the mindset should be for the Cleveland front office. Get as much young talent as possible. Get rid of those bad contracts. Pay Jarrett Allen because you traded for him. You might as well pay that man. And yeah, I think Cleveland can get their rebuild going in the right direction depending on this offseason. But I've been talking for 25 minutes. We talked about the big news. We talked about some little news. Hey, rumors with Rick. That's kind of hard to say. Rumors with Rick. Rumors with Rick. Yep, we got it. Yeah, but yeah, I'm gonna be talking about rumors all off season. I'm also gonna be talking about the rest of this NBA Finals too. But I don't think we got a game until Saturday. A lot of time off with no basketball, man. And the U.S. Team USA's exhibition game got canceled because of the virus situations and stuff. So it's like, bro, it's killing me. But hey, hopefully some more rumors and stuff drop so we can talk about them. Because even though there's gonna be no basketball for a little bit of time, you know, after like summer league and stuff's over with and the Olympics, I just love talking about trade rumors and free agent rumors and, you know, all that stuff. It's fun, and it's our job to overreact to some of these things. So let me know what y'all think. Where should Dame go? Or who should trade for Dame? And what would you give up if your favorite team were to be interested in Damian Lillard? But 26 minutes, I think that's enough of me talking. I'm gonna catch y'all next time, man. Peace.